Shalom, everyone, and I'm very excited to start a new special course, Live Kabbalah, which means why it's called Live Kabbalah. It's time to live Kabbalah, which is basically a spiritual coaching, taking all what we learned in the beginners courses of Kabbalah and applying it as a real spiritual coaching system for life. It's not enough to do it once, not even twice, as we're going to see, but you'll have the recordings of the lessons, and it's very much recommended to have the book, The Path of the Just, so you can read it yourself. I'm going to read from this book, not everything. I don't think we can cover that, even though it looks like this course is going to take a few months, at least close to half a year. Why is it like this? It's not a course. Spiritual coaching is not a course. It's a system in which we're coaching each other. We're learning how to coach ourselves, as we see the words of the Ramhal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. The book is too large for us to go through all the pages. Therefore, you need to read it by yourself. You will see that you need the background of other Kabbalists and especially of Rabbi Yehuda Ashlag to understand it, that some say he was a reincarnation of the Ramhal, the main author of the book, The Path of the Just. Basically, the purpose of this course is to give you guidelines, coaching tools, and a weekly meeting just to exercise our spiritual work. And you will see that it's very clear. You will listen to stuff, you hear the stuff, and the next day you forget it. You need, as the Ramhal is saying, to rehearse that, to repeat the same way. Going to the gym once, it's not enough. Eating healthy food in a special health food restaurant is not going to make you healthy. You need to slowly but surely apply the values that you study into your everyday life, and it cannot be overnight. Even the Maimonides is saying, a person who's older and is used to eat junk, and then he realizes one day that his life is in danger, and he changes into eating only healthy food, that can kill him. His body is not used to eat healthy food. You need gradually to move from a diet that hurts you, make you sick, but you're still used to it, to move gradually into a diet in which your body, your soul is moving up the ladder of growth, becoming better, and reaching the full potential. So that's basically the story of this course. We are going to bring a lot of quotes and study from The Path of the Just, not only. Many times you need to bring teachings of later teachers in order to open and make it more applicable, which means the rules that we study to make them more applicable in our everyday life and better understood. Sometimes we bring earlier texts that the Ramhal, as we're going to see, could not bring when he wrote the book, but we know where did he take the information from, especially from the Zohar and Rabbi Ashlag, so we're going to bring those sources. So before we start, we need to have a background of the Ramhal himself, so we know who is the sage that, following his footsteps, this is what this course is about. His name was Rabbi Chaim Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, initials Ramhal. He was born in Italy. We're talking 1707, and he passed away in 1746 in the city of Akko in northern Israel. A rabbi, a Kabbalist, a writer, and a poet. Born in Padua, Italy, to Rabbi Yaakov Chai Luzzatto, who was a merchant and Torah scholar in the city's Ashkenazi community, which means his family came from a Central Europe, Ashkenazi background, and to his mother, Daimanti. He learned Torah from the community's rabbis and was educated in science and languages, Hebrew language, Italian poetry, and rhetoric. His main teacher was Rabbi Yeshayahu Bassan, who was the rabbi of that community. In 1722, when Ramhal was 15 years old, his teacher was appointed to be the rabbi of the community of Reggio, with the departure of Rabbi Bassan, remember he was 15 years old, the Ramhal moved to study alone in his home and joined a group of young people who called their group Seekers of the Lord and engaged in the study of Kabbalah together. They studied Kabbalah together in his home, 15 years old. The Ramhal was famous for his special talents, and it is said that at the age of 14, he knew by heart the Babylonian Talmud, the writings of the Ari, and the whole Zohar, 14 years old. At the age of 16, he began studying medicine in the University of Padua, and at the age of 18, he published his first work, which deals with the theory of rhetoric and the play, The Story of Samson, in Hebrew. At the age of 20, he composed the play Migdal Oz in honor of the wedding of his rabbi's son. Before he turned 20, he composed 150 psalms, which means, the Psalms of David? He wrote the Psalms of David, what everybody knows, the book of Psalms, has 150 psalms, praises, prayers. He wrote something that sounds like it, feels like this, by himself, all in biblical Hebrew. At the same time, you have to remember he wrote plays like the story of Samson and Migdal Oz, and many more, and songs, also in fluent Hebrew. This is the 18th century. In 1726, at the age of 19, the Ramhal was ordained as a rabbi with his older friend, Rabbi Moshe David Valley, who was a great Kabbalist of his own, that wrote amazing magical books, and was placed at the head of the group Seekers of God. That group that studied Kabbalah together in Padua. He was the center of this group when he was 15. Now, when he was 19, they made him their leader. 19 years old. They set special regulations for themselves for the order of study. Among the regulations was to study on duty and continuously 24 hours a day in the Zohar. What does it mean? Nobody can study 24 hours a day. So they had turns. So there were always somebody sitting and studying Zohar in Padua 24/7. This regulation was amended to repeal a decree that hovered over the Jewish community. That was Italy, 18th century. Ghettos, the first ghetto started in Venice, not far from Padua. Jewish communities were still going through a lot of troubles and persecution. They believed, and we can see that all over the Jewish world, especially in Sephardi communities, that studying the Zohar 24/7 in a certain community can save the community from disasters. One of the most famous stories when the Nazis invaded Morocco Every Jewish community in Morocco created that same regulation, 24/7. And also in same thing in I heard in Tripoli, Libya. They were saved from the Nazis. Okay? Could be that was the reason, or one of them. The Ramchal's group included Rabbi Moshe David Valley, as well as well-known Torah scholars and Kabbalists. He's 19 years old. On Rosh Chodesh Sivan, 5717, which is May 21st, 1727, the Ramchal experienced a spiritual revelation from a Maggid. A Maggid, whoever studied the course of inspiration and clairvoyance, a Maggid, according to the Arizal, is an angelic being that reveals to the person based on great spiritual actions of the person. The result is that there's an angelic being that is created by the person himself. And if then that Maggid is great enough, only because of the actions of the person, he will be telling. Maggid means to tell, the one who tells, will tell great secrets to the person who created him, who, according to his description, revealed to him many Kabbalistic secrets. And that's the quote of his story. I fell asleep. It was Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the new moon of Sivan. And when I woke up, I heard a voice saying, "To discover the hidden secrets of the Holy King, I descended." Which means I came down to this world to discover for you, to reveal to you the hidden secrets of the Holy King. And I don't see him, says the Ramchal. I cannot see that Maggid, but I hear his voice speaking from my mouth. So whoever took the inspiration course knows exactly, we had the whole class just about that. So if we understand the intense work of the Ramchal, more than that, when he was very young, as a boy, instead of playing outside with the kids, he was meditating almost 24/7. He knew exactly the most precise, complicated meditations that change every 15 minutes. So that intensity and spirituality and faith and endless actions created such a powerful Maggid that gave him amazing revelations. The first discovery was followed by other discoveries, but he hid the fact of the revelations for about 6 months. He told no one about that appearances of the Maggid and the secrets that Maggid shared with him. And when the Maggid appeared to him, if he was in presence of other people, he would lower his head on the table and look as if he was resting. After a while, the Ramchal shared the secret with his students. And one of the most prominent of them, Rabbi Youdkevitch Gordon, he was from Poland. He was in Padua learning medicine. But he joined the Ramchal, and he was so excited about the Ramchal's revelations, he revealed the existence of the Maggid to the public. And this aroused great enthusiasm and admiration for the Ramchal, because he was like a prophet. You know, everybody knew about the Maggid of the Rabbi Yosef Karo, he wrote with him the Shulchan Aruch, which is the most important book in the laws of Judaism till today. But that was in the 16th century. Here we are in the 18th century. It was not very common. The rumors frightened rabbis in Europe all over, who turned to the rabbis of Venice. In 1730, the Ramchal was forced by the rabbis of Venice to deposit his box of writings Ramhal was also forced to declare under oath before the rabbis of Venice, I shall gather and shelve all my works that I have made to this day, according to the Maggid, and holy souls. Probably the Maggid was not the only entity that revealed to the Ramchal. There were other holy souls that revealed themselves and taught him great wisdom. Since the opinion of the sages of the generation does not desire that such new works from the wisdom of truth should spread. They were very much afraid. And therefore, the first thing they wanted is to stop what's happening, because people's imagination, you know how people, like when it comes to mysticism and message from above, people lose it. And they thought that's going to become another charlatan that is going to lead a lot of Jews into disaster, like the false prophet that was about less than 100 years earlier, Shabtai Tzvi. And even from now on, I will refrain from, that's again, his commitment that he signed on. I will refrain from writing any more work in the language of the Zohar. What the Maggid did, he dictated to him new Zohar, real new Zohar, like text that you read it, it looks and feels as this is the Zohar, or in any language that will be in the name of a Maggid or holy souls. They ask him to stop writing magical writings that is dictated by higher forces, higher beings. Okay. I don't know why this is not translated, but through 4 years after that oath that the Ramchal took, he was kind of in peace because he made an oath, and his enemies, the rabbis in Europe, left him alone. He was studying with his students. He did not write any more books, according to the Maggid, as he promised. He wrote commentaries to the Zohar, to the Arizal. After 4 years, the persecutions continued. His opposers went really harsh on, remember, he put in a box all his writings, all his magical writings. That box was sent from Padua to Rabbi Yaakov Katz in Frankfurt. And Yaakov Katz in Frankfurt decided to bury most of the writings and some of them to burn them. So they were lost forever. In his writing to his rabbi, Ramchal said that the burning of the box was a decree from heaven, and sometimes the Torah needs to be burned instead of hurting human beings. So that was kind of a sacrifice. However, some of those books were secretly copied by his students, and that's why they survived. Some of them were copied secretly for years later, and till only in the second half of the 20th century, those books were found in libraries around the world, in collections, and they were printed first time only lately, some of these books. Okay, in February 5th, 1735, the Ramchal arrived to Amsterdam in Holland and integrated into the Portuguese Jewish community. Was the biggest, the strongest Jewish community in Netherlands. While in Amsterdam, the Ramchal made a living from diamond polishing. He studied and taught. There was till I think not long ago, the Jewish community in Holland was very strong as a diamond center. When the Jewish community was destroyed, it moved to Israel. Still, Israel was one of the biggest diamond centers in the world till today, and probably thanks to a lot of people that came to Israel from the Netherlands. While in Amsterdam, the Ramhal made a living from diamond polishing, he said, and he studied and taught at the Etz Chaim Beit Midrash. Was a very important study place, Jewish academy, and was financially supported by the Sephardic community, the Portuguese Sephardic community, which adopted him and blatantly ignored his persecutors. During his stay there, he greatly influenced the young people of the community. In Amsterdam, the Ramchal wrote and printed his books, Derech Hashem, The Way of God, and Mesilat Yesharim, The Path of the Just. Bad translation, by the way. Yashar in Hebrew means not a just person, but a straight. Straight means does not go to the right and not to the left, but he takes and combines and synthesizes the right and the left, the giving and the receiving, the grace and the judgment to one central pace. That's what Mesilat Yesharim means. Mesila means a path or a road. Yesharim means the ones who know how to synthesize the right and the left, the love and the judgment, which do not deal openly with Kabbalah, but are based on the wisdom of Kabbalah, which means what basically the Ramchal did, he took the wisdom of Kabbalah and he explained it without using Kabbalistic terminology as a way of living, which means he brought it down in a language that you don't need to be a Kabbalist in order to understand the ideas. These books became like, they were basically the first books of coaching, maybe in history, as you're going to read later on. In 1743, the Ramchal left Amsterdam with his wife and son and immigrated to Eretz Israel, to the land of Israel, and settled in Akko. Akko is a port of the Galilee. The Galilee has two ports, Akko and Haifa. Those days, Akko was the most important port. The Ramchal synagogue in Old Akko is considered the place of his study and prayer, which we can still go to Akko and visit the Ramchal synagogue. The Ramchal died in a plague with his wife and only son on 26th of Iyar, 1746. So he was very young. In the years following his death, the accusations against him disappeared and he became admired by all factions of Judaism that were greatly influenced by his teachings. His book, Mesilat Yesharim, became the most central and basic book in the activities of the Musar movement. The Musar movement was, in Europe, the Jewish authorities somehow came to creating a school which says it's all about the Talmud. You have to study Talmud 24/7 if you can. Every minute, study Talmud. That is what Judaism is about. And then they realized that that doesn't work. There's a lot of emotional problems, a lot of spiritual issues, a lot of mental issues that studying the Talmud is not helping with. So the Musar movement was, how do we study Musar, which means moral and values, not just studying the law by the Talmud. Although the Talmud has a lot of morals and values, but it's not organized. So many books were written under the Musar movement, that because of the need to create a student is not just knowledgeable of all the rules and the regulations according to the Talmud, but is also a person with high morals and high values. So that was it. arose in the middle of the 19th century. That means a century later, and has influenced the entire yeshiva world, which means all the yeshivot, which are Jewish academies, to this day. Which means today, till this day, in every yeshiva, studying Mesilat Yesharim is a must study book. This book was accepted by all Israel during his lifetime, including his opponents. The Hasidic movement that was established around that time has many views that originate from his books. Okay. And you can, when you read, you see a lot of stuff that is coming from there. The Haskalah movement, later on came another movement, another school of thought, which was more about learning and educating also in science and, opening to the world. Sympathize with his connects because he connected together a lot of stuff that basically meant modernism. He studied medicine. He wrote Hebrew poetry, okay? And basically, we can say that the Ramhal he laid the foundations for modern Hebrew secular book writing. Rav Kook, who was the first Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Israel when the beginning of the days of the British Mandate, and he was a great Zionist and a great Kabbalist. His ideas were based on Kabbalah and first and foremost on the teachings of the Gra. Rabbi Vilna Gaon was also from the same time of the Ramhal, one of the greatest Kabbalists ever. He was from Vilnius in Lithuania, and he had his own school of teaching Kabbalah and the Ramhal. Jewish thought, which has been studied in recent years in the non-Hasidic yeshiva world, is based on the teachings of the Ramhal, and especially on the book Derech Hashem, The Way of God, and the book Da'at Tevunot, another book that we didn't mention before. Okay, so that's basically the background. You realize it's not easy to be a Kabbalist, and it's not really easy to be a magician, because that scares a lot of people. And we know a lot of people that do magic, it doesn't end well. We don't know what will have happened in that case. Okay, any questions before we start the book? Okay.
Yes, I would have a question.
Yes.
So we know, and you also told us
No, we
before
can't
that.
hear you. No, I'm sorry, Devorah, we cannot hear you. Hello?
Can you hear me now? Maybe.
Okay, try.
Um, okay, I will try. If not, then we move on. So what I was saying, also you told us that Ramhal um, got his knowledge also from I forgot the name,
Magid.
like an angel was.
Magid.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. um but on in the same time also you told us that uh, because this is more like you might consider to be like a prophetic way of learning. I mean, because he was told by a divine being this knowledge. So then we might consider to be prophetic type. But in the same time, you also told us that we should be very careful when we hear of someone that has prophetic knowledge, because
Yes.
usually these days such kind of knowledge is um, coming just mostly to children.
Yes.
And
So the answer is, we don't have a lot of time, but the answer is, because of that, the rabbis of Europe got really scared.
Yes.
But what we said also that through his life, when he was still alive, a
Mhm.
lot of rabbis studied his books and accepted them because they checked them and found them right, which means, in Judaism, when a rabbi prints a book, you don't just go to the printer and print the book. You first of all, you go to the greatest rabbis in that school or that area that you write. Let's say it's halacha, the law, or if it's about Kabbalah. So you go to the most famous scholars in that area, you give them the manuscript, and after they read the book, they give you uh, a letter of recommendation, and you print it in the beginning of the book. You don't print books in Judaism without these letters of recommendation. Nobody will buy it,
Mhm.
which means in the beginning they really got scared. But after a while, when more and more rabbis started to read these books, they realized that there was nothing wrong in his books. And also in his life, there was nothing wrong. Everybody who knew him, just, the stories were that he was a real saint, that he also behaved in a very righteous way. So when all of these checks,
Actually, yeah, here I should maybe say that as far
just a
as I
second,
know,
and
yeah,
still the Mesilat Yesharim is not a book that was written by a Maggid, other books, not this one.
yes,
So
there has
that's why the rabbis allowed him to publish that book.
hmm. Yeah, but
Shaul,
Yes,
wait, I didn't finish.
yes.
Uh, but actually, we learn right now, and I'm following also the books of Derek Hashem and Daf Tunot with Rabbi Akiva Tatz. Maybe you know him. Uh, so, so what you are telling me is that actually his writings um, are like in science you will call it peer-reviewed.
A
They
what?
were. They were reviewed by Biozer and
Yes.
accepted.
Yeah, otherwise you don't publish books in Judaism without
Mm,
the reviewing.
yeah.
It's like in science. In order for a scientific discovery to be published, it has to go to the magazine that is
Hmm.
a peer,
respected in that.
Peer
it's
review.
called a peer review.
Yes.
Um, Shaul, so are you saying that this was, if you're saying a magid, was this an ibur?
No, no, no. So Magid is something as Ibur is when a soul comes into you to support you. You have just to go back to the inspiration course. And Magid is a being, as I said before, like an angel that is created from the person's righteous actions, study, mitzvot, and all the purification and stuff like this. But it's not the time we spoke about it. The topic, it belonged to the previous course, to the
Okay.
inspiration and clairvoyance course. Okay?
Yeah, but many, as you said, many of his knowledge were, I mean, I don't understand very well this peer-reviewed process because as long as many of his knowledges are
Look,
coming
I
from
think that
him,
this is not the topic for this course.
yeah, okay, sure.
And so we're taking too much time for something
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah, of course, yeah,
okay? You can study that it's a topic by itself. You can study of how knowledge and information and new books are being created in the history of Judaism. It
right,
always have, like in science, has to be based on either um, existing publications, or you can bring proofs from past publications that what you came to has a connection and it doesn't contradict the Torah and the Torah world. Okay, same thing in science.
yes,
But this
yeah,
is works already 33 centuries.
yeah,
Okay?
yeah, sure. Okay,
Okay,
thank
so let's continue. So now we can start with the text itself. So it starts with an introduction by the author. And it says as follows. I did not, and listen to this carefully, because whoever listened to the class of Parashat Yitro, that really goes with that. I did not write this essay to teach people what they did not No, but to remind them of what they already know and which is well known to them. For you will find in most of my words only things that most people know and have no doubt with at all. But as much as they are known, so is the concealment of them, which means there's a lot of stuff that if we study Torah, if we study deeply, we know what's right and what's wrong, what's the truth and what's the lies, but we simply conceal them or ignore them. And that is the purpose of this book, is to awaken inside each one of us stuff that is saying, I'm not writing anything new. I'm just reminding everyone what are the basic ideas of spiritual growth. And how does it do it? Like every Jewish sage, you bring the proof from previous writing, and especially either from the Tanakh, the books of Moses, the prophets and the writings, or from the Mishnah, the Talmud, and the Zohar. Okay, that's how this is how this is structured. So what he's saying, I'm not bringing anything new. I don't want to scare anyone. I'm just going to tell you stuff that you already learned. I don't need to reveal anything new, but I'm going to say it in a way that will remind you, and more than that, will give you the encouragement to do that. That's basically what coaching is about. Coaching is not telling you new things. It's about basically you're being coached into do what you really want to do, and it's hard for you to do it by yourself. Therefore, the benefit that is derived from this book does not derive from reading it once. It's not a reading book, for it is already possible that the reader will not find in his mind novelties after reading it that there were not in him before he read it, but only a little. But the benefit comes from the repetition and from the perseverance, which means to study that again and again till you really can create the transformation. For the reader to remember these things that are forgotten by humans in nature, and he will put into his heart his duty, which he ignores. What the Ramhal is saying basically, deep inside, you know who you are and what you're supposed to become. More than deep inside, you came across that so many times when you study, if you study the Torah and the commentaries, if you study the Mishnah or the Talmud or the Zohar or other commentaries and other books that are the basic body of knowledge of Judaism, you probably bumped into stuff that your heart said, this is real. This is the truth. And you know what happens? There's a lot of noise. And we forget. We study amazing stuff. It's really impressive, but it doesn't leave a deep enough impression because an hour later, a day later, a week later, we forget. Same thing, people go to a coaching seminar speaking about, habits and stuff and positive thing and so on. You get excited. You're flying. You come home and little by little, you just go back to where have you been. Why? Because you need to practice the focus on your goals ongoingly. And that's the purpose of this book. And that's the purpose of this study. Okay. So now the next text, it's such a poetry. There's no way to translate it into English. So I can translate it without writing it. והחסידות האמיתי הנרצה והנחמד. real, we're going to talk about it, but the real piety, it's not the right word, but let's accept it meanwhile, that is wanted, that is desired. רחוק מציור שכלנו, it's so far away from what our mind and logic is describing. Because basically, what is a spiritual growth? It's to basically change the image in our mind, the logic, the way we imagine who we are and what we do. Because, a thief, let's take the extreme, a thief knows he's a thief. Or he has a whole picture of why is it right to steal. He has a picture. He has a whole description and logic behind why is it okay to do what he's doing. Okay? So if this is a thief or an adulterer or just somebody who hurts other people or hurts himself, somebody who's alcoholic or somebody who's addicted to something else, we have remember, what we do and what we say is a result of the way we perceive reality. Okay? This is like the programming. What comes out is a result of the programming we have. How do you know? What the sages are saying. You get a person to drink alcohol, the wine comes in and the secret comes out. Without the inhibition, the person reveals what he is really thinking about reality and about life. Okay? ואף על פי שכבר קבועים בלב כל האדם הישר התחלותיו ויסודותיו. Although a person that is already straight. Remember again, the word straight is mentioned here in a different connotation than in our modern society. Straight means a person that he can synthesize the right and the left, the love and the judgment, which means you love other people, but you also have a healthy judgment. You know where to put the boundaries with love, which means that is straight, which means it's not going to the right too much. It's like some people, some religions or some schools, just giving, loving everybody, don't put boundaries, everything is okay. If somebody does it, it probably is right. That's chesed. That's going off the road to the right. Or it's all about judgment and prohibitions and being strict and judgmental okay, that's a left. Or you can go to another left, which it's all about my desires, and I'm here to take whatever I can, and nobody will stop me from doing that. This is not straight. This is to the left. When you can synthesize the right and the left, that's what is called straight, or the golden road, many philosophers call it, which means you have love, but you have the boundaries. You care for others, but you never sacrifice yourself, which means you always know that the stronger you are, the more you can share with others. So you never give up yourself, but you're not sacrificing others too. So in every person who is yashar, he has already the beginning and the foundations. אם לא יעסוק בהם יראה פרטיו ולא יכירם. But if you're not busy with that, if you're not putting the effort in that, you will see the details, but you won't understand what does it mean, where it's coming to. Which means, on one hand, you have to keep on learning because the learning creates the logic and the consciousness. So you have to see, ראה כי אין דברי החסידות וענייני היראה והאהבה וטהרת הלב דברים מוטבעים באדם. You have to understand, you have to see that all these concepts of Chassidut, it's coming from the word chesed, being a pious person. Again, we are going to explain exactly what does it mean later. And all the concepts of awe and love and the purity of the heart, it's all engraved in the person because deep inside we have it. We don't really need means to acquire them because we have it deep inside. But אלא ימצאו אותם בני אדם בעצמם. People can find them by themselves the same way they know how to do what's natural for human beings to do, which means how to breathe. This is very natural to the person. Okay? What we are learning here is not something out of a human being's nature. Okay? We have it the same way we know how to breathe. We know that we need to eat. This is like part of what we are. However, כשינה ויקיצה, like sleeping and waking up, רעב ושובע, hunger and satiation. וכל שאר התנועות החקוקות בטבענו, all the other movements and forces that are engraved in our nature. אלא ודאי, however, it is of course, שצריכים הם לאמצעים ולתחבולות לקנות אותם. However, we also know, sleeping properly, eating properly, we need means and all kinds of ways in order to acquire the right way of sleeping, because people easily sleep in the wrong times, in the wrong way, they eat the wrong stuff. We can hurt ourselves easily. So we need to learn and to train ourselves always to do what's right for us. ולא יבצעו גם כן מפסידים להם שחקו מן האדם. There are a lot of forces that prevent the person from doing what's right for him. ולא חסרו דרכים להרחיק מפסידיהם. And there are many ways also to remove all those forces that prevent us from being healthy and ישר and straight. אם כן, איך לא יצטרך להוציא זמן על העיון הזה לדעת אמיתת הדברים? And therefore, when we know that logically, it's very obvious that we have to spend time ongoingly, all the time, on that idea. How to live a life that although you know what's right and what's wrong, if you're not putting focus on that, to know exactly, לדעת אמיתת הדברים, ולדעת הדרך לקנותם ולקיימם, if you're not putting effort in learning how to live a life that is balanced, that is proper, that is productive, if you're not exercising yourself in that, it's like the same thing when somebody wants to have to be in shape. It's the same thing. Being registered to the gym is not enough. Learning from YouTube exactly all kinds of exercises, that's not enough. You have to do everything you can to prevent all the forces that prevent you from living a healthy lifestyle. Everybody knows that. So if you're not having an ongoing studying that reinforce the right habits, it's not going to come. מאין תבוא החוכמה הזאת בלב האדם אם לא יבקשנה? Where would this wisdom come into a human's heart if he's not going to actively ask for it? Which means if you're not investing in that, it's not going to happen. Okay. So, are there questions or remarks about it?
Teacher and a guide.
What?
Sorry, my connection broke up. I don't know. Do you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know if I interrupted because the connection, but I was asking like this means that you have to have a teacher, a guide to help you fulfill that investment, right? Like
yes.
you cannot just watch things on YouTube or even just like read books or whatever. Like you have to have
You need to have a coaching, a spiritual
like
coaching system,
yeah, yeah,
because this we
right?
everybody is aware of it that you need to do it to create habits, whatever. Because yeah, you today there's so much wisdom, so much knowledge you can find on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you just name it. Books published all the time. What are the right habits? So most people today that are normal, they know that stuff. How many of them they do that stuff? And I'm talking just about health, diets, okay, exercise, sleeping habits, just very simple. And we know that if you're not in a training group or ongoing investing in that, you simply forget it. It's not enough to go to a retreat in the Alps or in somewhere, on the beach, on an island, and in which you learn of that stuff. No, it's not enough. You need to do it on a daily basis, or at least
Yeah.
a weekly basis. You have to be ongoingly. That's the purpose of this course. It's not that we don't know, we know, but we have to talk about it all the time because when we talk about it, when we learn about it, when we look at it from different angles, when we share it with each other, then the picture that he was talking about it is emphasized, generated, established, and strengthened every week. And therefore, you can't just from reading a book. You need to talk about it and to invest time in it. And that's the purpose of this course. Of course, that the course is not
Yeah,
enough.
thank you, Rabbi.
We're going to learn about how to emphasize and how to strengthen the method. But that course is basically like taking all what we've studied before and basically talk about it, strengthen it. It's about strengthening the picture, strengthening the consciousness. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, thank you very much. It's and I know this, like that for as you use the example of going on a retreat or doing a weekend thing is not enough. This absolutely makes sense. But what I hear you say is like it's about the habit, like forming the habit. And it
Yes.
sounds kind of like what you talked about in the Yitro, like with the system, like building the system with these habits. And I think what I hear you say is that with a teacher and of course the system, but the teacher is living that life and has those habits, and those habits then ideally could then influence or rub off on the student
Mhm.
so that they can see like how you're doing it. Because even if you do like exercises, for example, like yeah, you can try to copy something on YouTube, but there's no way that you can have that lifestyle. Do I understand correctly? Like it's about, this is what you mean by the habits?
Yeah. So uh, that's why basically it says very clearly in many, many places we're going to talk about it that you need to have a teacher. And we spoke about it in the beginning of this course that inspires you and is teaching you. And that is not just for a week or two. That's a lifetime because you need the inspiration and you need the ongoing study. As it says in Joshua, V'agita b'hem yomim v'layla. You have to be thinking about it, contemplating about what you study day and night, because only then your consciousness is ongoingly being upgraded, and the result will be that your life is upgraded. Nobody can improve his life without upgrading his consciousness. Never happens. Just by taking a pill.
Shaul, but that's what I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's what you were saying, right? Like that we should be reading every day so we can develop or keep the consciousness and the logic. Is it clear? Or I mean, I don't know
Yes, and that's why every day you should study.
if I
Not just
studied.
Mesilat Yesharim, anything, the Zohar, Torah, whatever makes you feel that, because you have to raise those concepts and those ideas and to think about it and to read it and to talk about it. And today you have also lectures on YouTube or whatever, but you don't leave a day, because why did you live that day? If you didn't improve, how would you improve? By contemplating, studying different ways on those ideas. If you do it daily, okay, listening, reading, studying, if you do it daily, your life will become better. You will do your tikkun, okay? That's what we're talking about. It's not a one-time thing, quick fix. You go to a rabbi, you go to a Kabbalist, he gives you an amulet, and your life is better from that moment on. What nonsense. Okay?
Yeah, so basically, like to read, to have the consciousness, but it's also to have like a trainer or a teacher so you can create a habit.
Yes.
And excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. So let's continue because we don't have too much time left and we need to complete because the most important thing is just ahead of us. Okay. כאן אמר רבי פנחס בן יאיר. This is from the Mishnah, Avodah Zarah. And the words are magical, really magical. תורה מביאה לידי זהירות, זהירות מביאה לידי זריזות. זריזות מביאה לידי נקיות, נקיות מביאה לידי פרישות. פרישות מביאה לידי טהרה, טהרה מביאה לידי חסידות. חסידות מביאה לידי ענווה, ענווה מביאה לידי יראת חטא. יראת חטא מביאה לידי קדושה, קדושה מביאה לידי רוח הקודש, רוח הקודש מביאה לידי תחיית המתים. Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, who was the father-in-law of Rabbi Shimon, was a huge sage on his own, and his words are the foundation of the whole book and the whole course. And he says that studying Torah leads to caution. Remember, every word over here is in English, and it's partial, and we will go by every word and learn the deeper meaning behind it. But just that to give you like a general idea. The Torah leads to caution, and caution leads to agility. Agility leads to cleanliness, and cleanliness leads to obstinance. Obstinance leads to purity. Purity leads to chasidut. I couldn't even find a word for that. Maybe piety. Chasidut leads to humility, and humility leads to awe of sin. Awe of sin leads to holiness, and holiness brings to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit brings about the resurrection of the dead. So there's a whole course, a road, the path of the just to walk through. We learn each step. We learn how to work on each step, okay, and how to apply it. But look at the end, like the bottom line, resurrection of the dead. And the question is like this, and this is your homework. Where in my life do I need the resurrection? Where in my life I had desires, aspirations, dreams, yearnings that I simply killed or allowed something else to kill it. And because I killed it, there's a part of me that is dead. Only through this road of healing, we can resurrect those parts of our life. Because when you have a dead part in your life, it is like necrosis. It becomes like infectious disease. If you have something like this in the kidney, God forbid, it can infect the lungs and the liver, and it can finally kill the whole body. We can't afford having something like this. So during the course, we need to look within, and that's your homework with yourself. Oh, if you have a friend studying together, it's even better to talk about those parts of your being that you basically gave up on, send them to deep freeze, or simply bury them and you don't even dare to face them. Okay, and after that, let's
They,
go.
they
Yeah.
can be like our regrets.
Look, somebody had, whatever wheels, it's different for every person, but it's like dreams and desires that we had could be because we were not smart enough, wise enough, we hurt ourselves, and that's why we're so hurt, so we shut it down.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay? And that's wrong. That's what's correction. We learn in the reincarnation course is in the places of fear and pain, it's the gate for enlightenment, because that's where I gave up. And I'm not supposed to give up. I'm supposed to correct it. Not to do the same all over again, but to do it right. To find the core desire that was there, that is holy. To find where I hurt it, where I misuse it, and to awaken it. So when you walk on the path and you start to get the cleanliness, the purity, the positivity, the holiness, then you have more self-esteem. So you can go back to places you left behind and revive them and deal with them, and they're not dead anymore. Because you're not a fader. You just fell in those places, so you messed up once, twice, three times. It doesn't mean that you're a fader. You know what they say? The one who fails is the one who stopped trying. So from this study, we're supposed to get the power, the self-esteem, so that we can face what we faced wrongly in the past. So that's the list we should do of what in my life needs to be resurrected. Okay? It's not, I wanted to be a billionaire. That's not a, why did you want to be a billionaire? Oh, because I wanted to do good things. Who stops you from doing good things? Okay? Just very shallow. Okay. So the Ramhal is saying, and behold, according to this Baraita, which is the text from the Mishnah, I am writing this book to teach myself and remind others. He's saying, I'm coaching myself by writing this book and reminding others of the conditions of the complete work for their levels. All of us need to go to that path. And that's how we start chapter 1, explaining every person's duty in this world. And it starts like this. This I could not even translate again. It's too much of a poetry. יסוד החסידות ושורש העבודה. The foundation of Hasidut, its piety, grace, we'll explain, as I said, ושורש, and the root of the real work. You see that the initials are Youdkevitch. העבודת תמימה, the complete work, הוא שיתברר ויתאמת אצל האדם מה חובתו בעולמו. That it will be clarified and it will be that the person will prove it as a truth, what is obligation in his world. ולמה צריך ולמה שצריך שישים מבטו מגמרי. What the person has to put his sight and direction, בכל אשר הוא עמל, with everything. What should be the direction in whatever you put your toil in, whatever you put your strength in? It doesn't matter if it's a job, career, hobby. There's one vision that you should focus on and keep on focusing on that always, כל ימי חייו, all your life. והנה מה שהורונו and that's right for every human being. והנה מה שהורונו חכמינו זיכרונם לברכה, and what our sages of blessed memory taught us, שהאדם לא נברא, אלא להתענג על השם וליהנות מזיו שכינתו. There's one purpose, and one purpose alone for a human being. It's to experience the pleasure of God and to enjoy the glamour of his Shekhinah. שזהו התענוג האמיתי. This is the real pleasure. והעידון הגדול מכל העידונים, this is the most refinement of all refinements. Idun is refinement, but also from the word Eden, that can be, that can exist. ומקום העידון הזה באמת הוא עולם הבא, and that Eden is really in the world to come. כי הוא נברא בהכנה מצלח לדבר הזה, because the world to come was created for that purpose, so we can experience that pleasure and refinement. אך הדרך כדי להגיע למחוז קבצנו זה העולם. But the road, the path to reach the world to come is this world, this physical world we are at right now. והוא מה שאמרו זיכרונם לברכה, and what the sages said, Ethics of the Fathers 4, העולם הזה דומה לי פרוזדור בפני העולם הבא. This world is only a corridor relatively to the world to come. והאמצעים המגיעים את האדם לתכלית הזה, and the means that the person uses in order to achieve that goal, הם המצוות אשר ציוונו עליהן האל יתברך שמו. These are the precepts, the mitzvot, that the Creator, blessed be He, gave us. What the mitzvot are about, it's how to complete our souls. No other purpose. ומקום עשיית המצוות הוא רק העולם הזה. And the place to apply the mitzvot is only this physical world. As Rabbi Ashlag is saying, אין תיקון אלא בגוף. You can do a correction. You can have an elevation only when you are in a physical body. על כן הוא שם האדם בזה העולם בתחילה. That's why a human being is put in this world purposely. כדי שעל ידי האמצעים האלה המזדמנים לו כאן, יוכל להגיע למקום אשר הוא חלום. So he can take the options ready for him, so he can use them in order to reach his destination in the world to come. וכשתסתכל בדבר תראה כי השלמות האמיתי הוא רק הדבקות בו יתברך. And when you contemplate on this, you will see that the real perfection, the real completion, is only dveikut, attachment to him, to the Creator. Only that. והוא מה שדוד המלך אומר, and that's what King David said in Psalms 73, ואני קרבת אלוהים לי טוב. And for me, what's good for me is only being attached to God. What we're going to do from now on is going deeper into those magical words. So when we apply that to every second of our, not every second, maybe as much as possible in our day, that will basically elevate whatever we do, whatever we are about. It's too late for meditation. We're supposed to do a meditation every time. Hopefully we'll do it next week. Any questions?
Yes, yes. Can you page the slides back to the steps again?
Oh, the steps.
Yeah,
It's all recorded.
yeah. Okay, right there. Yes, thank you.
The Torah leads to caution, caution leads to agility. Agility leads to cleanliness, cleanliness leads to abstinence.
Yes.
Abstinence leads to purity, and purity leads to chassidut, piety maybe, but it's not. Leads to humility, humility leads to awe of sin leads to holiness. Holiness brings to Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit brings about the resurrection of the dead. Okay?
Thanks.
We'll go back to it again and again. Maybe I'll send it to you as a slide. Okay? Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the class, and we'll continue next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shaul.
Rabbi. Thank you.
I hope you're inspired.
Thank you.
Amen.